Happy Monday. Today is Monday, November 18th, 2019, I believe.
Nails it.
I did. I got it. All right. All right. Coming from a pro. Wait till you hear his story. This is my buddy, Scottie Bud, Scott Ward. Super excited to have him on the show. His beautiful wife's here with us in the background, and we've got Derek trying to help me out in the other background, and he's hurting his head hurts right now. So we're live. You should be seeing us LinkedIn. You should be seeing us on the TED Show, hopefully. But super excited. Scottie's back. He was scheduled to come in, had some eye issues. God bless him, and now he looks amazing.
Thank you very much.
So welcome to the show, my friend.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for being patient. We were trying to play with Social Live, which is the LinkedIn Live platform, and so we're not exactly sure what was going on. But what I want to make sure before we go any further is that Derek can actually see us on the TED Show.
Yes, I can.
Okay, and you can hear us on the TED Show? Okay, good. So that's always the best part. So he's keeping track of the comments. Thanks again for being here, buddy.
Oh, thank you.
All right, so lots of stuff. I love what I've learned about your background, especially in the last 30 minutes. It's been, we don't do much R&D here, but you've had a wide, wonderfully spicy kind of life. I call spicy, that's our theme this week, mainly because you've done so much, especially in the entertainment field. So welcome, and tell us a little bit about you.
Well, thank you, and thanks for rescheduling me. For those of you that don't know maybe what he's talking about, I scratched my eyeball.
God, that hurts. I can't.
Honestly, and if you've never done that, let me tell you right now, scratch it off your list. I'll take it for you. You don't want to do it.
Not literally.
Leave it alone. Leave it alone. So we got to do that. And now I'm kind of nursing a little bit of a throat thing. So I was not going to miss this show. About me.
Yes, tell us about you.
My name is Scott Ward. A lot of people think, Scottie Bud, what is that? Well, it was a radio name from a long time ago. That's why I've got a couple of different names. So for those of you back on the West Coast, you remember that Scottie Bud on ESPN. So that's why, right? Scottie Bud!
Scottie Bud.
Hail originally from Lansing, Michigan. So I'm a Michigander. So
Is that how you say it? I never knew. It's the Michigander.
Michigander, yeah.
Floridian's so easy.
Right, that's how we say it up there. And people go, is it Michiganian? And I'm like, no, it's Michigander.
We just had a lot of
right?
syllables for that.
It is. I can't spell either one of them, so it doesn't matter. So, bounced around all over. Spent 25 years in Los Angeles, doing a lot of stuff out there in the world of entertainment.
What brought you to LA?
You know, it's kind of funny. I had a buddy of mine who I was teaching golf. Not teaching. I was working in a golf tournament type of facility in Oklahoma City, and a buddy of mine who worked for a IndyCar team called me and said, "Hey, they're flying me back to Michigan to get my car. Our season was over because it was in the middle of winter. I'm going to move to LA. You want to go? I'll pick you up on my way through." And I said, "Yeah, all right, I'll go."
Nice.
Literally. We put everything in the back of a Ford Probe.
A Probe.
A Probe. That's what he had, right?
Do they still have those?
I don't know, but I got it for a point of reference, right? And we jumped in and headed to LA and Southern California, Orange County, actually, specifically, and that was it.
So you had no entertainment background until you went to LA? Did you do things in Michigan and in Oklahoma?
Did.
Okay,
I
so
did.
you
So
did.
I did radio and stuff like that. Prior to that, and decided, okay, we're going to do it. And here's a funny story. I had saved up a bunch of money, and we decided that we would think it would be a great idea to stop in Vegas as we're going, from Oklahoma.
You're headed
right?
that way, right? I mean,
so I left by accident, three $100 bills in the pair of pants that I had on. We changed clothes, went out to some casino. And I had my money with me. When we got back later that night, I had no money with me, and thankfully I had left $300 in the other pair of pants.
Yeah.
So when I moved to California, I had three $100 bills.
This is a real deal.
That's the truth.
What were you going to do in California when you got there? Did you have any idea?
I had no idea. But I just figured, okay, well, we'll go out and give it a shot.
I mean, LA's the place where dreams are
right.
made,
There's pretty girls out there, and we'll just kind of see. And I mean, it was a long time ago, right? So
that's very different from Midwest to go to LA.
That's right.
What was that like? Was it in, because Michigan to Oklahoma, right? You were in Oklahoma, you said. I mean, that's still, you're still Midwesting it there, but you hit Orange County in LA. That's a different world.
It was. But my dad had lived out there. My biological father had lived out there for several years. so I had taken, obviously trips for holidays and stuff out there. So I was a little bit familiar with it, but never like, okay, here you go, time to get a job and let's do this.
So what'd you get? What was your first job?
I was a assistant general manager of a beach bar in Southern California called Hennessy's.
Nice. See, this is the kind of stuff. How old are you at this point?
Oh, geez, it was 97.
Wow.
1997.
So the
So,
thing, I mean, that's a
I was
perfect
10.
job. I was going to say, you were just a baby. How'd you get a job?
Yeah.
Those are the kinds of jobs, though. Working at a golf place, then moving to LA and being an assistant, an AGM, that sounds prettier.
Yeah.
Of a beach bar.
It was awesome, though. I made so many friends. I loved it. I loved my time there. I did it for years. Learned a lot from Mr. Paul Hennessy, who was the owner. He owns like 17 of them up and down the coast. Great guy. And it was a good time.
And so then, how did you get into broadcasting? How did you get into being in front of the camera? Because eventually we're going to make it behind the camera, but let's talk about you're in front of the camera. You're fine. I'm glad to hear it, actually.
Right, yeah.
That's good.
That's
no,
my wife. There you
good.
go.
Sorry.
High five.
Why
Thanks,
don't
honey.
be
That's my wife.
sorry? I told you, that's the organicness of this insane
Everybody that
show.
knows my wife would know. There's June. June just made us show up. Thanks for coming, honey. I appreciate it.
Hey, guys.
She's
Yeah.
here. So in front of the camera, how did you get to that point?
That is a great question. So I was nursing a broken heart, truth be told, and I decided that I wanted to go and do stand-up comedy.
Okay, so
Right.
you had never done it before.
I'd
and
never done
decided-
stand-up before. Had a friend of mine tell me, hey, listen, at the Irvine Improv, there is a class you can take, because, you got to learn how to write a joke, right? So I took this class from a guy who is still a huge impact in me, a great mentor and a great friend all these years later, a guy by the name of Jeff Jenna. And he taught me how to write a joke. And so I started doing stand-up. I had about 7 minutes of tight material, as we would say back in the comedy days, this early in my career, and started doing open mics in Los Angeles at the Comedy Store and the Laugh Factory and Irvine Improv.
You had never done it before.
I'd never done it
So
before.
had somebody said, "Hey, you know what, Scotty? You're funny. You should do stand-up."
Yeah.
Is that real? I mean, I think that's where a lot of
Honestly.
people go. Well, I could do that. Or you see somebody who's really bad, and you go, "I could be much better."
Right.
But most people don't have the
That's right.
chutzpah
Yeah.
to make it to the stage.
Oh yeah, and there's been plenty of times. I'll never forget the first time I ever did a road gig. Right, you finally get hired to go out on the road, and you're like, yeah, this is gonna be awesome, and okay. And I walked almost the entire audience. I was featuring for a big headliner by the name of Mike Pace, and we were in Catalina Island. It's a true story. And I was so nervous, and I ate it bad for a half an hour. I walked the entire room, right? It's like 1999, something like that. And his opening line after he came up to finish me, there's like 4 people left in this entire comedy club.
Had you
And he-
driven them all out?
I totally did. And he said, he goes, his opening line was, I'll never forget it. He goes, well, we could just do the rest of the show in my mom's basement. Right? That was his opening line. So I'm like so apologetic, and he goes, listen, man, it happens to everybody. I won't be mad at it, because we had like 4 days to do together on the island, right? And this is the first show. And he said, you do the exact same material and the exact same arrangement tomorrow night, and I won't be mad at you if you got the guts to do that, right? So I did, and I killed it.
What was the difference in the audience? What was the difference? Was it your presentation
Maybe I was sober.
of it?
No, I'm kidding. I don't
That's a
know.
whole nother story
Right.
and
I
shit.
don't know. I have no idea. But it happens. It happens. So you're not a true road comic until you eat it bad. I ate it bad.
And so did you do that for, is that like Catalina Wine Mixer, Catalina Island?
There was no, it was
You know
a
that
great,
movie, I'm
Yeah,
sure.
I do. Right, it's great. No, it was a sushi restaurant, combination comedy joint thing, and it was one of the best gigs you'd get in Southern California. It was awesome. It was a good time.
All right, and then what do? Do you continue to build that up and build a following?
Yeah.
Or, okay, so
Well,
talk
back
about
then you had black and white headshots, VHS tapes. There was no, we
no
couldn't.
social media.
No, we couldn't do what we're doing right
It's
now.
crazy, right?
So you actually had to go and mail this stuff out and call people on the phone and try to get headliners to take you into clubs and all that kind of stuff. So it was a different era. My headshot was black and white.
Yeah,
was like this.
I remember that.
So,
There,
right?
you know, what's funny is I know people who still have those on their
Right,
business
exactly.
cards.
Yeah, and you're like, come on, really?
Like, you
man?
don't even look
or
the
This
same.
one right here. This one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you were on a milk carton, we'd never be able to find
Exactly.
you. So what do you do next?
I got real lucky. I got picked up for a couple of spots on some television, reality television series. As cast.
See, I don't know this, so tell me. Are you allowed to talk about it?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
So I was.
I never know. You didn't refer to it immediately. I'm like, there's a clause.
Yeah, no, it was 1999. Actually, we were doing. I was doing like 5 minutes at the Comedy Store, and Paulie was there. Paulie Shore.
Oh, I love him.
Oh, he's a great guy, and he was doing the whole big donate because they would feed everybody up and down Hollywood Boulevard on Christmas Eve and New Year's Eve, and he saw me do some time, and so he made me a paid regular, and I only did like 5 minutes. And at that time, I was so young in the business, I didn't even know what that meant. I was like, oh, okay, cool, whatever. So about a week later, I was doing a show upstairs in the Belly Room. There's 3 different stages at the Comedy Store in Los Angeles, and there was a producer in there from Fox and FX, a guy by the name of Louis Barretto, who said, "Who's that guy?" Because I was just, I'm a total knucklehead, right? And he said, I think this guy's funny." And so he auditioned me. He got a hold of a friend of mine who got a hold of me, who I thought was lying to me. I said, "Shut up, this guy's not lying." and they did, and so that's where it happened. And I got cast in my first show with Louis Barretto, who I will love forever and ever and ever. Thank you, Louis, if you're watching this. I love you, you know that. And that's kind of how it started. And then it was another show and another show and another show. And
so you get a taste for TV at that point, like
Yeah.
really. And then so how does that progress? Reality, and that reality was kind of newer then. We had that one MTV show where they all lived together.
Right.
Real World, maybe, if I'm
was.
dating myself.
Yeah.
And then, but that was such a new genre of TV.
It was, and we got paid like $12 and a ham sandwich back in the day, right? Everybody else is now on People Magazine, and they got a huge following and all this stuff. But no, we were just kind of, we were out there to try to get work, and so that's kind of how that went down. And
But you progressed, so you went reality TV. You're being humble. Like, I know enough about your story to know that you really progressed through. You didn't just have your 5 minutes of fame. So talk about that, because you did a whole bunch. You have done a lot, my friend.
Well, so from there we started doing more and more stand-up, right? Yeah, then that way you're recognizable, because people are like, oh yeah, I know that guy from that show and all this stuff. And so I was working in Vegas and a couple of other places and doing a lot of stand-up. And then from there, I wanted to really kind of help other people that were coming up behind me. And so I'd gotten burned out from being on the road a little while, went into finance, private money finance. There was a
Wait,
guy.
you went out of entertainment into money?
I would still do some entertainment on the side, right? But I had a guy who really mentored me, father and son, guy by the name of Dan Lymel, senior and junior. I will be eternally grateful for them.
You know what I love is you are integrating the mentorship thing we talked about earlier
yeah.
into the show.
Oh, it's just true.
Like,
though.
it's awesome.
It's
You're
true.
weaving it in. It's
so
really
that everybody
good.
watching this is like, okay, well, how did this guy get from here to there,
Yep.
right? And so they made a huge impact on my life and taught me a business that I never thought I would know. And so I did a lot of private money, real estate development, finance, both commercial and residential, many, many years. And once that market, kind of the world ended in 08, right? I didn't want anything. It was like that kid that smokes all this, Brewster's Millions, where he had to go into the closet and smoke that whole box of cigars. I didn't want anything to do with real estate or finance or anything. So I went back into entertainment and really wanted to help people that wanted to, because reality had kind of, reality non-scripted had really kind of taken off at that point. And so I started a management company, right? Had a management company on Hollywood Boulevard in Hollywood and had like 71 clients.
Wow.
And just started saying, okay, guys, here you go. And I wasn't exploitive or anything, and I wasn't predatory on them. I said, let's do this, 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 and this, and this. Let's go out and do that. And so got these guys a lot of work.
How did you, is it because of all of your work in front of the camera that you were able to have the connections? Because connections are everything. We all talked about this before we went live. Knowing people and having the connections to get stuff done behind the scenes is really important.
Well, yeah, and I think that ethically too, you have to know how the business works, because there's so many people that the funny thing about Los Angeles and Hollywood or anything in entertainment, even down here in Orlando, is if you can get here on a Razor scooter, they'll take you, right? You can take a skateboard down here, and if you want to take a cut at it, well, give it a whack, right? So I just really wanted to see people do well and follow their dreams, and so we, cultivated and created shows and content integrators, and really trying to get people out there and expanding so they weren't so single node, and did a lot of campaign management stuff like that for sales and.
How was it on the talent side? I'm always fascinated. You have the talent, obviously, and so you began to manage people.
Mm-hmm.
One of most people's favorite part about, I'll use American Idol because that's the easiest one, is when the people who've been told their whole lives they're talented, can sing, maybe can do comedy, and you're like, wow, you need to go home and rethink your dream that you've had. People have been lying to you the whole time. How was that on
my wife
the
right
talent
there, you
side?
can't see, she's sitting there going, right now.
Sometimes I'm like, you're breaking their hearts, but somebody had to do it at some point. So did you take everybody in? Did the masses come and huddle? They got a big Scottie Bud hug?
Yeah, right. No, I didn't. But I will say this. There's three things really kind of in talent, right? If you are working with somebody that wants, that where you, like, let's say a client comes to me and I want it for them more than they do, that's not a good relationship.
Agreed.
Okay? Two, I have had a couple of people where they thought that one thing was their talent thing. Singing, for example. And it wasn't. Where acting or musical comedy, things along, where said, okay, well, let's take the cowboy hat off maybe and put on something else. And so if you're really going to care about people and develop them, right, you got to try to, you look through the diamond, through the rough, and then there's other people that you have that honest conversation with and say, this is a really hard business. And, so you need to be patient. Let's take more classes, and maybe we need, let's re-image your pictures. Kind of that heavy goth look isn't working for you now, and it's a new era. You know what I mean?
I do. I think it's
it's
fascinating to me. Even the guests that we get on the show, right? They think that they want to come on and talk about one thing.
Right.
And their passion usually comes out in the 30, 40 minutes. And they most of the time aren't talking about what they came on the show to talk about. And that's the thing. If you listen, which you obviously do, and you cultivate, I love that. You're cultivating it. You're trying to figure it out, diamond in the rough. But in LA, everybody is an actor.
That's right.
Every person is an actor, singer, dancer. There's like multiple things going on. Ask any server in LA. And they are an
producer,
actor.
I got a podcast.
Yeah, I love those ones on LinkedIn now. It all says producer, director, and then I look at their day job and it's like server at Sir.
But you know what? This is what you have to do, right? Because LA's like a pyramid. I don't know if everybody can see that in the deal, and so it's up here at the top. Kind of, it's also very political, and so but if you're going to go into big entertainment towns, right? You have to be ready to work. It's not easy. This whole thing about you just show up into town, you got the look, and it's somebody sees you drinking a milkshake at an ice cream stand or something, and then all of a sudden you got a 7 movie. No, whoops, sorry, I didn't mean to do that. But right, but that's how it is. It doesn't. That's not reality. You have to work, and the competition now is so tough because everybody has got access now to create. So create. My advice to anybody now is just keep doing stuff. Just keep doing stuff.
Consistency, right?
That's right.
All right, so how does an Oscar winner like you get to from LA to Orlando or to the Central Florida area?
Well, okay. So when I was a kid, growing up in Lansing, New Smyrna Beach was my penguin ice cave, right? I mean, that was my blue heaven. And so my family, since 1952, had lived or retired. I had family members in multi-generational in New Smyrna Beach. I loved it. Loved it. It was one of my most favorite place. That beach is one of my most favorite places on this entire planet, right? Shout out to Volusia County. And right, so unfortunately, this is where it's a sad truth, but as your parents get older, my mom got sick and passed suddenly, and we were on the West Coast, and so my mom passed at 71, and then my dad, he got sick. And so we came back to take care of my dad. And so we moved to Volusia County. I was living in Port Orange. It was close to kind of where he was at the time. And then when he passed, we were going to go to two places. We were either going to come, here in Celebration, where we live now in Orlando, or I was going to go to Tampa. And I didn't know a whole lot about Tampa, but we were like, hey, it looks pretty cool. And we came and fell in love with Celebration. I mean, I love that town, and it's got the trees and the front porches and all that kind of stuff from when I was a kid. And my kids run all over and play in the parks, and the neighbors are great. And so we are here in Osceola and loving it, loving it, loving it, loving it.
How does somebody with, so you know, LA just feeds that, right? So there's a talent pool out there. Not that there isn't in Orlando, but it's known for its talent pool, its entertainment world. And then, you know, when Florida or Orlando or whomever decided we weren't going to give tax breaks, all of this southeast Hollywood thing went out the window. So you come here, and then what are you doing? What are you working on? What do you decide that you're going to do?
That's a great question. So I do two things now. One is we have Word Media, obviously, because that's our bailiwick and what we do. And so we have 7 different media verticals. We do some campaign management. We are really kind of getting out there to grow kind of these micro networks and communities, which is working really, really well, and getting people out there that we want to work with. And then the second thing that I do is I have a nonprofit that I used some of the money from my inheritance to self-fund and create a thing to keep kids safe in schools and do that kind of stuff, because you gotta wake up every day with a why.
Agreed.
Right? And so I was fortunate in that, and so my wife and I, we want to see these kids safe, and so we have launched the nonprofit that way. So we have the media company where we have all kinds of fun and create projects and launch things, and we're going to get kids changing their media narrative. That I think is really big.
Talk about that. What does that mean?
Well, so if you look at you know, on the internet now, there's cat videos and all kinds of stuff like that for fun. But there's also, I think, a negative spin on a lot of stuff, right? And we do a lot of media training. I'm going to be working with, you know, several sports teams and high schools and stuff in the area, also to media train their kids, and you know, because when it goes out there now, it's going to stay out there. It's not like it when we grew up.
Forever,
right?
Guys.
Can you imagine?
No.
No. We wouldn't be here now. We might be in community service or something. So
you asked me earlier why I haven't run for public office. I'm scared.
I'm scared. He's scared. So, I want what I want to do is change that culture for these kids, right? And there's a guy who's a very good friend of mine. He's on my board of my nonprofit. A guy by the name of David Pavlik, who created a thing called the No Project, which we're going to do here in the area in Orlando, that they did up in Cook County in Chicago. And what they did is they took this program to the high schools and taught the kids how to create media with a message about things going on inside of their community to lift people up in the positive instead of being in the negative, right? And it was very successful, and we're going to take that and do that down here, because I want to, right? I want to have kids looking and searching how they can create their footprint in the community, right? And so instead of making crazy, you know, kind of let's jump off a house and land on top of a refrigerator, hurt yourself, let's actually do like a video that's going to inspire people to do more, become more than they thought they could be.
I love that. Is that like Pastor Rabbi David?
Yes. Do you know David?
Of course. I did a series with him on navigating faith.
I did not know that.
Yeah,
I love David.
David's amazing.
I would lay down in front of a moving truck for David Pavlik. For those of you that don't know David Pavlik, you should get to know him.
He came on, one of the first shows he did when we did this show was, I asked him if he would speak in Hebrew, because he speaks.
Yeah, he's a Messianic rabbi.
He's a Messianic rabbi, and he did it. And then later on, we laughed, and he'll laugh at this. I'm like, gosh, every time you did the sound, I paid attention. So this is really good. This keeps your thing going.
He'll be thrilled. He'll be thrilled.
I absolutely love him.
Yeah, I do too.
Why do you think it is that kids? Is it because we're not monitoring it enough, or we monitoring it in the wrong way, or is it a combination of both? Why is the social media so negative? Why is it coming in such a way?
That is a great question. That's strong, and I'll tell you, in my opinion, it is lack of old school type of community, lack of a breakdown of old school communication skills. Kids need to learn how to talk to one another and talk to adults and all this kind of stuff. And they also need to understand the ramifications of what they put out there. They think that it's just a snappy little comment, but it stays out there forever. And I think that parents need to be involved, and they need to, communities need to kind of come together. One of our slogans is not only does it take a village to raise a child, but it takes a village to keep a child safe. And remember when we were kids and you would go down to a pharmacy or a gas station or grocery store, and you would know everybody, and they knew your parents, and somebody might see your mom next week, and they, oh, Ted was in here, and he, that kind of thing, right? We need to get back to that. And I think that it's going to take all of us as a concerted effort working together.
Well, and I think parents need to, in my opinion, educate themselves better on the options out there. I mean, if you use the words, let's say TikTok, for example, or Snapchat, I know many people my age and even 10 years younger than me that have absolutely no idea what that even means. And so if your kids are younger or of that age and they're doing that and you have no idea, so how do you have a point of reference to go, well, let me see that or let me learn more about it? You just think it's the latest thing a kid does and you've moved along to whatever else you're doing. I feel like you're right. We need to get more involved and educate ourselves.
We do, and I think parents need to do that. I know that teachers are doing that now, but I think what's also another great thing is that the school resource officers that are now in schools. When I was a kid, and when you were a kid, we had Officer Friendly. You remember that?
Right.
Officer Friendly, right? And now they would come by once or twice a year for thing and give out whatever, a couple stickers and stuff like that. But now you've got school resource officers that are making an impact every day and changing kind of the tide and the momentum of a negative into a positive. And I think what the school resource officers are doing in our county is phenomenal. And that's some of the stuff that, from a positive standpoint, is it going to take time to turn that boat a little bit? Yeah. But we got to do it.
Resource officers are another group of unsung heroes.
You better believe
it. We have a lot of those, which we talk about a lot on the show. All right, so what haven't I covered?
I don't know.
Litany of things. I just want to make sure I don't miss anything.
No, I know.
Miss June, anything I missed? I mean, we can
Is
always.
there anything?
What haven't I talked about with this guy?
I don't know. I wish if you guys have never been up here, you need to. This view
It's beautiful, isn't it?
It's
awesome.
gorgeous.
I wish that I could figure out how to turn the make it so
I don't know
that
because it wouldn't.
it's just
be
it's
too
the
backlit.
lighting,
Yeah,
right?
it'd be too backlit.
Oh, and I love it, by the way. So when Scotty came in, he's like, "Do you want me to move the chairs out of the way because they're going to be in the shot?" I'm like, "Yeah, you do you." Because normally the chairs would sit right there where they belong. But I love that you moved it because it looks beautiful. All right, so we're going to share all of Scotty's contact information, how you can reach out to him, how you can learn more about his media company, how you can learn more about his nonprofit efforts, because these things are so important. And he's got such a wide, wonderful range of background, and you do so much good in the community, and I really appreciate that. All right, so you answered the mentor question throughout, but is there anybody you missed that you weren't able to weave into the conversation? Anybody you want to give a shout out to?
There are a couple. One, an individual in this community right now who is making a big impact in my life, and a guy who's one of the good ones, would be Sheriff Russ Gibson. And I want to say,
man.
Yep, I love the sheriff. I think he's doing a great job. He is as real as it gets. He is exactly who he sees, and he's made a huge impact in my life. And now both my kids want to be police officers.
Oh,
so
that's cool.
Who else?
He's a good guy.
Yeah, he is. There's three guys in the fire service, actually more than that, that I'm thinking about. Ward Meldrum, who was my old roommate, who was my first paramedic instructor. Ward, you did. I know you have the same last name, but was a great guy and impacted my life for the good for a long time. Chief Todd Hendy and Chief Mike Hamill and Chief Trent Atkins. Thank you guys. Love you guys forever and ever. Miss you all in Michigan. Bill Pollack and Jerry Vanderbilt. And you know what? With what you're doing to take and blast this out, folks, I heard about Ted.
Uh-oh.
No, I'm going to talk about it. I'm going to talk about it now. One, because, and I almost brought a war dome change, so next
Why?
time.
You look great.
Well, I know, but I got to keep up with this. I mean, this guy, you should see these shoes down here.
Shoes are good. Good shoe day.
What you're doing out there, just with this kind of thing, to take everybody and get their nonprofits and stuff like that out there, because you don't have to do this. And so you have been an impact to me to motivate me to work more. And I'm not giving you a cheesy plug because I'm on your show. It's the truth. And so thank you for what you do for all the people that you help. That, you know.
Thank you.
I know, my wife's your biggest fan.
I love your wife. She's amazing.
So thank you. Thank you.
You're absolutely welcome.
You're welcome.
All right. Fantastic show, Scottie Bud,
Thank
everybody.
you.
All right, so we'll be back later on. We've got 2 more shows today. But reach out to Scottie. Get involved. His organization's amazing. And, you know, if you want to be the next big, I don't know, star, have a campaign, whatever you want to do, reach out to Scottie for that, too. He'll tell you whether or not you can sing or not. That's for sure.
Oh, no. Lord knows I can't.
All right. I appreciate you guys. We love you. We'll be back later on. Mwah. Thanks for tuning in.
Thanks, guys.